Big day today. I'm 40, which is incredible. We've got a lot to look forward to this year. We've got a baby on the way, a little boy on the way in March, which is unbelievable, which I'm very excited about. So we're preparing for his arrival. Very excited. Hopefully there'll be another drummer on the way. So thanks to everyone for wishing me happy birthday today. And always great social media for one thing, I guess, and that's birthdays, and it does always put a smile on your face to hear from people you haven't heard of for a long time. So thanks to anyone who wished me a happy birthday. Speaking of reconnecting with people, I had a brilliant phone call last night from an absolute legend of a man, and I use the term legend wisely, and it's not something I say a lot, I guess, but Mark Nutty reached out to me, who I hadn't seen him for years. I haven't seen him since 2009, and somehow he stumbled across the Drum Hangs video on YouTube, and then he realised it was me, and he couldn't believe it. And Mark Nutty, if you know him, he's a larger-than-life character, and I know he's watching. And hi Mark, it was great to talk to you last night, and thanks for reaching out, and I can't wait until we can actually get together and go for a curry or something like that, because miss you a lot. And Mark was he took the drum industry by storm, really. You know, he was a sales manager for Morocco, and he was selling DW pedals and protection racket cases, I believe. It's a long time ago now, and I used to buy the stuff from him. I was a buyer, and he was just great to deal with, and really everyone who he met never forgets him, so it was great to connect with him. And thanks a lot, Mark. All right, so why are we here today? Well, we're going to talk about the drumming bug a little bit. And I started playing the drums when I was about 15, and I got my first drum kit, and luckily enough I had some guys who lived just up the road from me. There was two brothers, John and Seb Falcone. Hello guys. And then a guy, Simon Gibson, who also played guitar, who lived down the road. Now John and Seb played bass and rhythm guitar, and of course when they got their guitars and they started getting to music, I felt a bit left out, and I'd always wanted to play the drums. And it was a perfect excuse to be able to start this band together with them. So I got my drum kit, and we started playing in my bedroom. All the guitars and the drums ended up in my bedroom in the house, and for some reason that's what we did. Seemed like forever, you know. We were playing music forever and rehearsing, and I had no idea how we got away with it because it was ridiculously loud. So thanks to my neighbours. But anyway, we did a couple of little smaller gigs, and I played in a few other bands as well, and it was a fantastic time. So once me and Seb used to hang out a little bit together, and he was quite into his jazz, and so I was trying to play along with stuff, but I always found that I didn't really have the technical coordination down. And I was buying some records. I was listening to kind of Art Blakey and Billy Cobham things, and I thought, wow, I want to get to play like that, you know. So I sought out a drum teacher, and I saw this advertisement in one of the magazines, and I still remember his phone number even, you know. I've spoken to him so many times on the phone. But Phil Solomon from Brighton, where I'm from, and his number is 01273 608 916. I can still remember it, and we're going back now 25 years, I guess, you know. And I remember the first time I called him, and I phoned the number, and I said, I'm interested in lesson. He went, okay, well, you realise I'm a complete bastard, you know. I'll give you a really hard time, he said. And I thought, wow, you know, this is serious, because I'd rung a few other teachers, and it all seemed a bit kind of dry to me, really. But it was almost like this challenge was on to have some lessons with him, and really, you know, show that I meant business and that I would work hard, you know. And so we organised the lesson. Went down. I was a bit nervous because of what he'd said on the phone. It was quite an unusual thing to say, but he was an unusual character, you know. And I got there, and he kind of tried to give me a hard time. And then I think he could see that I was absolutely, completely passionate about learning the drums. And over the period of 5 years where I studied with him, he taught me to read, and he was a fantastic guy, you know, such a funny sense of humour, but most of all, he was completely obsessed with drums and drumming and community and building, you know, people's interest in the drummers of yesteryear as well, and given me a real kind of sense of tradition. And that's what's always stuck with me. You know, I'm so grateful to him because he introduced me to Count Basie and Frank Sinatra and all those people, and like Mel Lewis and people like that. You know, he was obsessed with those guys, and that's my real obsession. And it's really a case of monkey see, monkey do with this kind of stuff, as Adam Nussbaum famously says. You know, because you see these people and you end up just kind of, it just sinks in without you realising. And Phil was a great guy because what he would always try to do, this was his main thing, for the people that he was kind of close to. There were quite a few of us who studied with him that he kind of took under his wing a little bit, really, which I'm very grateful for. And he would take us to gigs and he would drive there because we were all too young to drive, and he would drive us there in his car and we'd say, right, we're going to go and see this guy tonight, see this guy. So he took me to see people like Ronnie Verrill, for example. And Ronnie Verrill was one of the greatest UK drummers ever, period, you know, and a complete fire when he played. And he had this kind of hunched over, he had like a hunchback kind of thing, hunched over, and complete fire when he played. If you ever seen him play, the time is so great. And a fantastic drummer. He was actually Animal in the Muppets, as you may know, which was fantastic. I remember the first time we saw him, we went to Worthing Pier and we watched the Sid Lawrence Orchestra, who Ronnie played with. And so we watched the gig, and we'd been for something to eat before. And then after the gig, Phil said, oh, well, let's try and meet Ronnie, because he knew Ronnie, he knew all these guys because he was completely obsessed with them. I'll drink some tea, otherwise we'll be here all night. So after the gig, we were in the theatre. It was on the end of Worthing Pier where there was a theatre. And we hung around and we were waiting for Ronnie, and he just didn't sort of seem to be around, you know. And we kind of thought, oh, well, maybe he's gone, you know, maybe he's doing something or whatever. So we left the theatre and we were walking up the promenade, and it was very dark. We walked up the promenade and there was the street lamps, which it's really nice around there, some nice street lamps, and you could see the light going onto all the cars. And then in the distance, we just saw the shadow of a man sitting on his car. And as we got closer, you could see it was Ronnie Verrill with his dress suit pinned on his shoulder like that. And he'd obviously was hungry, and he popped to the chip shop to get some chips. And he was sat there with a bag of chips and his newspaper, eating his chips just down like that, sat on the bonnet of a car. And we were like, wow, there's Ronnie Verrill. So I went up to him and said, oh, Ronnie was fantastic. And he just looked up, and he was kind of hunched up. He looked up and he said, oh, lovely chips these. Do you want a chip? Lovely chips. And that was kind of crazy, you know. And I just sort of, you know, you fall in love with these guys because they're such great characters, you know. And he was just fantastic. And so I got to see him a number of times. And also people like Bobby Orr as well. Bill introduced me to Bobby Orr, who I got to know. And he would also run a lot of events as well. And I think that's obviously where my kind of interest, without realising, I've been the guy sort of organising events as well for a long time. So yeah, it really kind of stuck with me, all his teachings. And he was very hot on you, kind of really, you know, trying to be the best you could be personally as well, and try to look after people. And that's what I've always tried to do as well. I remember when he brought Duffy Jackson over, and very sadly Duffy left us last year, which is, you know, very sad. And I guess one of the worst things about it, because I knew him a bit because I used to see him when he came over, and when we started the drum hangs, I kept thinking to myself, we've got to get Duffy on, I need to speak to Duffy, but it didn't end up happening. I didn't end up speaking to him, which is a tragedy really, because it would have been great to have a hang with him. And when Phil first brought Duffy over to do a drum clinic and stuff, hang on, more tea. He first brought him over to do a drum clinic, and I had to pick him up from the airport, which was crazy because I just sort of passed my driving test, literally. And Phil said, well, you know, can you pick Duffy up from the airport? I was like, yeah, okay, you know. And I had a pretty old car, Ford Escort Estate, you know, and it was a bit of an old banger really, you know. It was my first car, and that's what happens with first cars, they're pretty basic, you know. And so I drove up to the airport, picked him up, everything was fine. And Duffy was another larger-than-life character, you know, absolutely amazing, funny guy, and the complete entertainer. You know, he could play piano, he could sing, he could play bass, he could play drums to world-class level, you know, unbelievable. And you should check him out more, because he really is a legendary drummer. So we're driving back from the airport. I picked him up from Gatwick, and all of a sudden my car breaks down. I'm like, oh, you're joking. It was so embarrassing for me. And Duffy's like, don't worry, we're going to sort this out. I've been on the road for years, we're going to sort this out. And so we got to this garage, and because there was smoke coming out of my car, and he got to the garage, and then he got out and said, I'm going to fix it. I said, Duffy, you don't need to do this. You literally just got off the plane. He's like, no, man, I'm used to this. I've been on the road for years, you know. And he went into the station, he got oil, and then he was under the bonnet of my car, and there was oil all over him, and he just didn't care. And it was just unbelievable. And all these people are like this, you know, they just do anything for you. And that's why it's important to try to get to know them and go to see them live. And that's where you get the real experience. You're not going to get this on videos, on YouTube and stuff like that. Be in the room with them and talk to them, and then you get a real sense of who they are. But yeah, I thank Phil for all the inspiration, and he really gave me the drumming bug, and I will never forget that. And he taught me to read music as well, which I found very, very important in playing the drums. So yeah, thanks to Phil Solomon for all the inspiration. Thanks, Phil. Well, yeah, a great man. So thanks for watching. We've got more episodes, and I wanted to talk about some of my mentors before I got into talking about the drum hangs. And we're going to go through every episode. We're going to talk about the backstory of setting up the hangs, what happened on the hangs, because we didn't record them. There's no point. I always feel like, why would you wouldn't go to the pub and sit there with a camera and record a chat with your friends, you know? And I feel that way about the drum hangs too. So we'll talk about the hangs a little bit and talk about a few of the backstories. And I got some stories that are just incredible. So I hope you'll stick with me, and I know you'll enjoy them. So we'll look out for the next episode. And I'm going to enjoy my 40th birthday today. And thanks to everyone who's followed us on Instagram. We hit 10,000 followers this week, which is crazy. I remember the first post, and I've been at it for almost a couple of years now, which is crazy. But thanks to everyone, and if you're not following us, go ahead and give us a follow. So see you soon, and have a good weekend. I'll probably do another one this weekend. I've got another mentor to talk about, which is Alan Cox. So thanks very much. Good night.